welcome to episode 4 of Whole Lotta Wolves. We're your hosts. I'm Joshua Buckley,
And I'm Paul LePage.
and it's my pleasure to introduce our guest this week, Justin Buznito from Tennessee Wolves. How's it going, Justin?
Good. How are you guys doing?
Not too bad. Could be better after Sunday's game.
Be better. Yeah, I think that's how we all feel a little bit right
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about how your support of Wolves came about.
now. I'll fully admit I'm kind of a newbie into it. I won't lie. So I had watched on and off the Premier League for a long time. Never really kind of started following a club, and I've got a really good buddy here who I go to local matches with in the MLS and in support of our team. There's actually a City fan. So I've seen him and all his buddies, and I knew I didn't want to be a part of that. No offense to that, but knew it's not something I wanted to follow. And a couple years ago, I was kind of like, all right, I'm going to get real serious about this, and kind of started looking into it. And I was actually going across Twitter and found an article about the Wolves. I think a lot of it had to do with volley, and just kind of started reading into them, and it just kind of, they stuck with me. I know it's one of those weird things where it kind of finds you sometimes. And so I think I caught on about the right time as we were being promoted, and kind of started following the train from there. So I'll fully admit that I'm new, but over the last couple of years, I've really enjoyed just digging into the history of the club and really learning about it. And actually had a trip planned out to Molineux earlier this year that obviously fell through. So I'll get there one day, but just that's kind of how it started, and I've kind of stuck with it ever since. So it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, it sounds like me and you both started our fandom at about the same time. So
Gotcha.
yeah.
Very cool.
So talk about Tennessee Wolves. How have you guys grown over the last few years?
We're still pretty of a small group, to be honest with you. So we've actually got people kind of spread through the state a little bit. We started as Tennessee Wolves to kind of cover because there were no other supporter groups. So we kind of started the flagship, I'll call it. And so we've got people spread out through a couple areas. So we've grown a little bit here and there over the years, and we've actually, unfortunately, kind of struggled to find a place to kind of call home for us. There's a lot of supporter groups around here, which are fantastic for a lot of the teams. So a lot of those places are taken. And so we've tried some different things. So trying to kind of establish and plant that flag a little bit, I'd say. But we've kind of grown here and there, a couple people through the course of each season, and just looking to continue to build that up and grow. So I appreciate you guys having me on, because it's a great opportunity to kind of get us out there and to more Wolves fans, hopefully, that some in the area.
Yeah, absolutely. We're glad to have you. Well, guys, let's just go ahead and rip the Band-Aid off. I could have seen a 4-0 game. I would have thought it would have been the other way around, though, with Wolves winning 4-0. So obviously not a very fun result. Paul, was that the worst we've looked since returning to the EPL?
It's funny that we've had a couple of those performances, but not to the extent of a 4-0 drubbing, which what it turned into. And with all due respect to West Ham, it was a little bit embarrassing, because maybe last season when it was the 5-2 loss to Chelsea, so sometimes those results happen. If it's a top 4 team, top 6, sometimes you get on the wrong end of a couple of worldies and find yourself 3 or 4 down. But yeah, West Ham away, when we've had such a good record in the past, the early season, hopefully it was just one of those games. I'm really hoping that every time we've had a stinker, Nuno has tend to kind of put his hands up and recognise it, and we've bounced back the next week. So hopefully it was one of those. Hopefully there's nothing untoward going on with the team that makes it more of an issue. So let's see, I think.
Well, I do think there were a lot of things kind of playing against Wolves. Number one was Semedo was making his first start. He'd only been training with the team a couple days, so as talented as he is, that's still tough to be thrown in a situation like that and expect fantastic results. And I really think Podence being out with that knock was an absolute killer, because he's really shown the creativity over the first 2 games, and it just wasn't there on Sunday.
If he was, again, looking at that more formation that he lined up with at Sheffield United away, where Neto and Podence were a little bit more tucked in and gave a little bit more stability in the centre of the park and pushed on from there, I think that was a little bit of our undoing again on Sunday, that we lost the midfield battle. And it's a slight concern for me. And again, it's West Ham we're talking about here, but they matched us 3-4-3 and got the better of us. So is it another team figuring us out? Have they got an idea how to stop us, and they can they can work it out and they know how to combat us? Or again, was it just one of those off days that everyone was not on their game apart from the odd flash here and there? It's going to be an interesting game to go into next up against Fulham to see how they react.
Justin, what do you think about the midfield in particular?
You know, I'm struggling. I agree with what you guys are saying. I also feel like we were just a step slow the whole match. I've tried to figure out why. You know, as I was just watching. Unfortunately, I went back and watched some. I'm not going to call them highlights, but we'll call clips, just to see. You know, we just kept getting beat, and I don't know if that's because we didn't have a push up front, if we were trying to do too much up front because we didn't have potence, and we were getting beat on the back. I don't know. That's where I'm really trying to struggle. And I think, Paul, to your point, maybe Fulham is the tail of the tape a little bit to see if it's really something going on or if it really was just one of those bad days. I don't know. I'm struggling to really find that. But every time I kept seeing this, we were behind a step. We just kept getting beat. And again, to your point, it was West Ham. I don't expect a Nuno team to be behind on a top 4, top 6, you know. But and again, no disrespect to West Ham, but I don't expect that certainly of a club like that we should take care of business with.
It's certainly an opposition that for us, if we got out at them and we took the game to them, if we had the first goal, they're a type of team that could have crumbled. And chatting to their fans that we share a bar with in Houston after the game, they were still nervous at 2-0 and at 3-0 up. So it shows the kind of level of fragility they've got as a fan base, knowing what can happen to their team if they're put under any sort of pressure. And that didn't happen from the first kick of the game. I can't remember Fabianski having a real save of note to make, and that's a little bit worrying when we didn't have Podence, but we still got a tremendous amount of talent on the pitch, and we didn't really exert any real pressure to put them under for any length of time, and that was a little bit troubling to me as well. But yeah, again, hopefully I want to try and wash away that negativity and put a positive spin on it this week coming into Sunday, and putting it down to that freak result. And Man City, that was a freak result on Sunday as well. Watford went and beat Liverpool 3-0 last season, so please let's just kind of put it in that bracket.
Chalk it up to that, yeah.
And in 6 months' time, we're thinking, wow, do you remember when we lost 4-0 away at West Ham in the third game back, and look where we are now. So
yeah, you hope that's not a trend game and it becomes we just drop points and hopefully it doesn't hurt us on the back end, right? I think you look at it that way, maybe.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. It's interesting, you know, different seasons and certainly different club, obviously, with a lot of the changes that we've made. But two of the trends I feel like we had last year, one is unfortunately, it sounds, you know, from Fulham a little bit giving up an early score. We've not really done that, which we were real bad at last year, playing from behind a lot. But the other one, to your point of the West Ham fans being apprehensive up 2-0, I never really felt like we were out of games last year late. You know, if we were certainly down 1, but if we were down 2, that we could pull something back. We got real good at that. And I don't know, again, different club, different season, but I don't want to feel the first one. I don't want to give up the early scores, right?
Yeah.
But I didn't, maybe just because it was so far out of hand, that you didn't really get that feeling anyway. But I don't know, it's just interesting. And small sample size with 3 matches played too. So
I thought one thing West Ham really did well is they identified, okay, we can overload the side where they're going to throw Adama and Semedo, and they identified that the left side of us was really weak with Vinagre, captain step over, and Saiz there, and that's they made Vinagre have the ball all the time and then just attack Saiz constantly, especially in that first half, and that's where it got ugly.
I think you're right that was potentially identified, and then again, you can't let that was Saiz's error for the first goal, that he can't be in that position of the attacker running towards him, and then put a guy who's all left foot on that side to have what was kind of free shot into the goal. So
And then it was the second or third goal. Vinagre couldn't even throw it in very well. He throws it in, it's immediate turnover and a goal.
yeah,
I mean, those are things. If you're going to be a left back in the Premier League, you cannot do.
that's going to be interesting because they are pretty magnified individual errors. And that doesn't happen, given their due, given that all the last season in terms of our defensive solidity, that we weren't really a team for glaring individual errors, and you easily had kind of 2 or 3 in that game, and they got found out.
So I guess we come to the transfer window ends next week. Are we going to have the solution come from the transfer window by finding a new center back, a new wing back, which I don't really see happening? Either of those look like possibilities?
It seems to me that I'm not, again, I don't really want it to come across as being overly negative based on Sunday's result, and that the cure of all of our problems is to sign a quality right-sided centre half and move Bolly to the left again. But I still, at the back of my mind, I still think that it's a gap that's been identified going back to last year that they're still not filled. So if Diaz was a legitimate target, it says to me that they identified it and they want to play to fill it. They didn't get him last year for whatever reason, and that ship's now sailed. They tried Vallejo and that didn't work, and he wasn't a good fit. And there's no one legitimately now that really can come in that we know that's got some. He's been signed for that purpose. Maybe that turns into Hoover, but as a young kid who more favours the kind of the right back berth or the right wing back berth, that's a big ask to expect him to come in at right centre back and take it on immediately. So I don't know. I think if that, I'm sure they must be working on a centre back. I hope they are. But there's been no real name since the start of the transfer window opening, other than Diaz, that we've really been linked with. Todibo, I think, from Barcelona, he may be going to our friends that we'll speak to at Fulham, so maybe he's out of the picture. Who else is there?
Nunez, the Spanish guy.
Okay, yeah.
From Athletic Bilbao.
So there could be. I'm just hoping it's one that's bubbling under, that no one's been tipped off, no one's in the know about it. It's not being leaked on a forum, and Jeff G does his magic reveal, and we get a guy who can come in and start straight away and make a difference.
Everything I've read, it talks about not being a knee jerk after a match like this, right? But I think to your point, it's something that it's exposed out there. But I agreeing with you guys, I haven't seen much out there, and usually, a lot of these other guys that were names floating around quite a bit, and it seems it's oddly quiet. So I don't know.
Yeah, and Paul, you mentioned the forums. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, Dendonker's name came up with a potential move to Napoli. What are your thoughts on that? I'll believe it when I see it, but you never know.
That's right. Again, a little bit of no smoke without fire. And first up, I'd be gutted, because I think he's a great player to have based on his versatility. And I definitely think he could have done a job on Sunday for sure in the centre of the midfield, especially as a 3. But I've got a weird feeling. I'm not sure there's any substance to this, but my feeling is that he could be kind of a remnant of a Kevin Thelwell signing. That when he was signed, Nuno may have kind of agreed to it, but it may have been one that Thelwell's really behind, saying, I've got this player, I've unearthed him, he's going to come in, he's going to do a good job. Especially if that was with the promise of him being a right-sided centre-back, like he's shown for Belgium. So if you recall, he came in and we didn't see Dendoncker for about 4 months.
Yeah.
I think he got a League Cup outing early, and that was about it. So at the back of my mind, I've got a feeling that he may not necessarily be a Nuno guy or have the qualities that Nuno's going to look for moving forward. So if that's the case and it's right for him to move on and we get a decent fee for him, good. But on the flip side, if that happens, we need a replacement in the centre midfield, and we still need a centre back. So if he goes and we've got two quality additions coming in, he can go with my blessing. But if that doesn't happen, I'm going to be very worried.
Yeah, I think so as well. Dendoncker was another one. Like Jota didn't surprise me. I always thought if they needed to sell somebody to make cash to get a big signing, that was going to be who it was. I thought Dendoncker would be number 2 on that list, just because he's not a everyday fixture in the starting 11.
That's true. I think if he's of the age as well where he wants more guaranteed first team football, it's great for us to say, oh, I don't want Dendoncker to leave because he's perfect off the bench and he can fill 2 roles. But he's obviously ambitious. He's got international caps that he's chasing. He wants to be playing week in, week out. So I think it's a case that, yeah, it might be right that if someone does come in for him and he's got that opportunity, he's one that may have been available to sell. Even though I personally will be disappointed if that happens.
I think to your point that to that backfill on that, right? Because again, we you read and see about running thin anyway. I mean, we run a thin squad to a point anyway. So losing another and now two, where do we go from here? I think is the question we're probably all asking if that does happen. Even if it's not, we're still looking to backfill some stuff.
So I think we'll talk about this week, but it may be a case of the Whole Lotta Wolves transfer jinx that we're talking about it in depth tonight, and it all kicks off tomorrow. And by the time it gets released, it's old news and something's happened.
Yeah.
So.
I'm telling you, that Ronaldo transfer is coming soon.
Yeah.
So if you guys could make one realistic move, one realistic signing before next Monday, what would you do?
I'll go centre back, and I'm going to go. I think there's a domino effect, and there may be a piece. There may not necessarily be this piece that falls to us, but I think there's a piece that's going to happen. And I'm going to go that seems that Diaz has gone to Man City. My addition would be John Stones on loan for the season
Nice.
to come in.
Wow.
He's a kind of bit of a, again, internet forums and everyone's a coach and everyone's done their badges and people get written off with their peril. But he's the type of player that I think could come in under Nuno's tutelage and do well, and we'd be able to sign for a decent fee after the end of a successful season. So that's my crystal ball gazing, but I'm definitely in the centre half camp.
I would lean that way too. I don't know if I've got a name to drop. I think we're doing well to fit into Nuno's scheme to young and versatile. I think this needs to be seasoned. I mean, some type of veteran, I think is maybe probably in the path you're thinking. I don't know if I have a name to drop on it, but that's where I would go. I'd probably go same position, just more veteran and a little bit more leadership there for somebody who's kind of got proven time in the EPL is probably the place I would go.
I think one name that's gone a little bit quiet and not necessarily from us in recent months, he's been more linked with Man United, and I'm probably going to butcher his name, but Benoit Bellanadashi at Monaco, who's kind of a big strapping young 19, 20-year-old centre-back that we've been linked with tentatively previously, but I think Man United were more in the market for him at the start of the close season in the realms of kind of 30-35 million. So it'd be interested to see if anything comes of him, especially because I think Monaco is part of our little collection of Uncle George's clubs.
And Paul already knows who my guy is, who I'd like to see him make a move for.
Not Ronaldo. Come on, give us a proper name.
No, Lamar. Lamar, absolutely, from Atletico. I think, and yeah, it wouldn't solve the defensive problems right now. Um, However, they could slide him into that number 10 role, which I think we're starting to see Nuno is wanting to use a little bit more. We're kind of seeing him try Neto and Podence there, and I think he'd be a good fit. I think he'd be somebody that could go on the wing as well. And especially, I wouldn't want an outright buy. I would want a loan with option to buy. It's Fulham on Sunday, and we're going to take a closer look at the opponents by welcoming Jason Jadon from the Fulham in the South supporters group. How's it going, Jason?
Hey, it's good to be on with y'all. It's good to talk some footy, even though it's a little painful for us Fulham fans at the moment, for sure.
Yeah, we're not going to talk about pain today.
Good. I'm happy with that.
So with this being a podcast that's predominantly for an American audience, we like to highlight current and former U.S. men's national players. So as a Fulham fan, how proud are you knowing that your club featured the best player in EPL history in Clint Dempsey?
Ooh, that's what we think. That's definitely what we think. Definitely the best American. Johnny come latelys to the Premier League. They think, oh, Pulisic, man, he's the best American to ever play. But we're over there, shaking our fingers like there's another team in Fulham that, has Dempsey. So yeah, there is a lot of pride with that, and that goes along with the debate of club over country. I don't care where you're from. You can be from Mars, but if you can score goals for us or defend well, then we'll have you at Fulham. But there is a certain amount of pride for the American contingent we always have. And in the transfer window, we brought in another left back, Anthony Robinson from Wigan. Absolutely. And he's an up and coming star with the U.S. men's national team. So since we've been down to the championship, it's been a little less of full America, but it's always there. You always meet people. I'm always walking around. I'll see a Fulham hat or a jersey randomly somewhere, and I'll say, hey, are you in Fulham in the South? Or you want to go do a watch party? Anything like that. So yeah, absolutely. There's definitely some pride there. And we always think, of course, if you talk with anybody about Dempsey, there's a few goals that come to mind, but obviously the one that really sticks out is it wasn't even in the Premier League. It was against Juventus, and it's the Dempsey chip, and everybody always, talks about where were you watching, those kind of things. So yeah, definitely fondly remembered. And he did have a good spell at Tottenham, but I mean, he was at his peak at Fulham. And just a quick story about Dempsey. We had the player liaison officer come through because Bocanegra in Atlanta, where we're based, Fulham in the South is based. Bocanegra played for Fulham, and he was coming through to visit. So the player liaison officer has seen every player come through Fulham for the past 20 years. His name is Mark Maunders. And so he's telling us about Roy Hodgson, Bocanegra, McBride, Dempsey, anybody you can name that you can think of. But he said that Dempsey was the hardest working player he had ever seen at Fulham. So I thought that was really cool. And before he became a big name, I went to the USA versus Guatemala qualifier, and nobody came out of the locker room to sign autographs. But this guy with the shaved head, he just walked out, or I think maybe still had long hair. And I was, my friend had given me like a knockoff USA jersey, and I just pushed it through the chain link fence, and he signed it, and I had no idea who he was. And then I knew he was Clint Dempsey, but that didn't mean anything yet. And then he started to make a name for himself and never washed the jersey again. That tells you anything about pride. Those are my Dempsey memories that I have.
So now we're into the new season, a newly promoted team, but defence has been a bit of an issue for you guys to start off the season. What changes do you think you need to make to correct that?
This podcast might need to be about 2 hours long to cover. But just succinctly, you can kind of divide our transfer policy is a bit murky. And Shad Khan owns the club, and Tony Khan, he's Shad Khan's son, and he runs the transfers. And we've needed a center back. We've needed a center back since before the championship season was over. We knew we did. And you can kind of get away with it in the championship. But as you know, I mean, y'all have been down in the championship with Fulham for most of the time that we've been there as well. And you know that things you can get away with in the championship, you just cannot in the Premier League. So you need somebody who's sharp at center back. And so our director of football operations, Tony Khan and Scott Parker, the manager doesn't have final say in the transfers, so that's a bit of a rough spot there. But the problem isn't Scott Parker, and I don't think many Fulham fans think it is. I think it's the front office a little bit. But the biggest thing we need right now is definitely a tried and true Premier League tested center back. Wherever we get him from, however much money, somebody can really put us over a barrel, because that's exactly what we just can't. Even if we get, I think, Bennett from Wolves, I think I would be okay with that even. But
we would as well.
Right. And it just depends on the team sometimes. But we do need somebody who's played in the Premier League, because we can't trot out Riemann Adoy. We did that with Michael Hector. The back three, we played a 5-3-2. We can't do that. We can't do that. They're too old, and they're not fast enough for the Premier League. So we have to get a center back and two. And then we also need a secondary striker to sub in for Mitro, or God forbid, knock on wood, Mitro gets hurt. We need another striker that can get us about 10 or 12 goals in the Premier League that we can rely on when Mitro maybe isn't fit or hurt or something like that, because we can play well without Mitro as well. Since the restart, we really played and won a lot of games without Mitro towards the end of our championship season. So secondary striker, and above all, we need a center back real bad.
So onto the game on Sunday. How do you expect the team to line up against us? And I know from a Wolves viewpoint, there's a couple of familiar faces that we're used to. So who do you think is going to be the danger men for you guys?
Well, I would love for Cavallero to get a hat trick. That would. But
do we get any more add-ons if that happens? I think we should.
Yeah. I mean, I'm totally okay with that, actually. He is being. I've watched him, and he's been a little bit anonymous for the first 3 games in the Premier League. He was a very solid, and I would say above average player for us last season on the wing. When he's good, he's good. But when he goes missing, you know, you're like, oh, he's starting. He's playing right now. So Cavallero, we actually did let K-Mac go. We're prepared to let him go on a free and let him do what he wants. He's really a fan favorite. Everybody loves him at the club. He should go and get his coaching badges is what K-Mac should do. Kevin McDonald, because we got him from y'all, I think about 4 years ago now.
Yeah.
But he was really a leader for us, especially in our promotion campaign in 17-18. So I think he should go on and get his coaching badges, but we've had to say farewell to him. But we'll probably line up we lined up against Aston Villa in a 5-3-2, and we all know how that went. So, but MO, besides that last game, has been to line up with 4 across the back, 5 in the midfield with a midfield triangle, and then Mitrovic up top and try to get service into him. I would say it's going to be one of those. You know, Cavallero probably will start on the left wing in that 4-5-1. But I think that danger man Mitro can always get a goal. he can be anonymous for 89 minutes, and then he'll pop up with a header in the 90th minute. If we can keep the game that close. So your defenders definitely have to watch out for Mitrovic. He's got so many tricks. He is such a fantastic target man. He's just got a talent for that, for wrestling defenders and settling the ball, chesting it down, turning and shooting, or dealing with crosses as well. So somebody that can break up play against y'all is somebody that we bought initially when we got promoted in the 17-18 season, going to the Premier League. He's got 4 names, so it's a mouthful, but it's Andre Frank Zambo Anguissa. But I think that he's somebody who can really buzz around in the defensive midfield and stop any counterattacks or any plays going forward. So those will be the two biggest guys, or the 2 main threats as far as y'all attacking and us attacking y'all.
I think we've certainly seen that in the past, that Mitrovic has done well against us, and the whole style of game that he plays that you've just outlined, we've been found out a little bit. So hopefully we've learned from that, and it's something that they look to address. But it's a weird feeling that similar happened to us on Sunday with Mikel Antonio, who played a pretty similar game for West Ham, and he didn't score, but he was a threat, and he ran our back 3 ragged for large chunks of the game. So yeah, it's not the most ideal opponent you want to come up to the week after that. So we'll see. It'll be interesting.
I was going to say, yeah, we just do seem a little bit one-dimensional with Mitro. So if you can just make sure he's the only one in the box and kind of get 2 guys on him. But if we get more people in the box, it will be tougher.
So just to kind of wrap up this segment, what are your expectations overall for this season, Jason? Is it just one of these where you're hoping to stay out of the bottom 3, or you hoping
I just want to be 4th worst in the fourth from bottom, I guess I would say. So I would love to be 17th best in the Premier League. We were under no illusions that it was going to be easy. The problem, if you go on Twitter, and the Fulham Twitterverse is kind of exploding now, because we just don't have a center back, and we have questions. We knew we would have these questions, but we don't have the answers yet. We need to find those. And because our schedule is so favorable in the beginning of the season, we're slow starters, kind of like you were saying Wolves are as well. But we just can't afford to do that in the Premier League this season, because we have a favorable schedule the first half of the season. But I think everybody was under no illusions. But we were hoping to be more organized and harder to break down. Parker ball is something that we played where all last season, when we scored first, we never lost last season. We never lost. Okay. The problem is we've conceded in the first 5 minutes of every half this season, we've conceded a goal. So
that's less than ideal.
Yes, that's less than ideal. So part of that's getting a center back in, part of that's everything, but we knew we would kind of be in for this. So yeah, 14th would be great. But every Fulham fan you would ask would bite your arm off for 17th place, definitely. So all we want to do this season is stay up. And honestly, despite the trials and tribulations we've had recently, I do think that Scott Parker is the guy for the job. Now, in 10 matches, if we haven't won one, hopefully that's not true. That'll be a different story. But he got us to where we are now, so he deserves a good run.
Well, hopefully you guys can start pulling it together. Of course, after this week's game, you guys can.
Sure, yeah. Sheffield United. We got Sheffield United after y'all. I think we can. I think we can pull it together up at Bramall Lane. I would love to. Just throw us a point, and then 3 points.
No, we're not gonna do
point.
that.
Okay. But yeah, I mean, Wolves are I think y'all are a really good side, and I think y'all have had a tough break with West Ham, and then Man City. I mean, Man City is Man City, so we can't all be Leicester and put 5 past Man City with how many? 2, 3 penalties? I think it was
Yeah.
two. But it should be an interesting season, and I think you guys will do really well once you figure out where the new boys settle in. And I expect y'all probably, my prediction for y'all, if it's 17th for us, hopefully, then I think it'll be realistically 7th through 10th for y'all, something like that.
I think we'd take that, yeah.
Would you? I was going to ask, would you take 7th through 10th place?
Yeah, I think so, especially after what we saw Sunday.
Yeah. It is. So every game is under such a magnifying glass right now because we haven't had a large sample size, and so that's what I'm hoping, especially in the Fulham universe, that we get some better results and we can kind of like get those 3 points under our belt and kind of relax and say, all right, Scott's got this. We got to center back in, breathe,
Right.
do some yoga.
Appreciate you taking the time to come on, Jason. Thank you very much. We do wish you well for the rest of the season, apart from those 2 games against us. We always like to say that you guaranteed at least 6 points versus West Brom, and should have been at least 6 points versus Villa, but you kind of messed that up on Monday. So you'll just have to get the 3 points up at Villa Park from those set of games.
Yeah, would love that. It was really nice to be on, and hopefully, we're both in the top half of the table come next time we play. I think we play each other again on April 10th or somewhere around there. So
yeah, let's come back around then, and we'll see how the season's shaping out. That'll be good to come back to for sure.
Yeah, that would be great. So just thanks everybody for having me on.
Would you like to hear your company's name in one of these sections, broadcast to a captive group of soccer fans across North America? Get in touch for information on our packages, including presenting sponsor, segment sponsors, and paid partnerships on social media by emailing hello@wholelotofwolves.com.
What are we thinking? What's going to be the starting 11? I mean, hopefully Podence is healthy and back. I think that would kind of solve some of the issues we saw on Sunday.
I would agree. I don't know, and I don't know what you guys have seen. I've seen hopefully he's had some light practice this week, some light workouts. So hopefully that's good news. But I think that push would really help. And I know there's kind of been some debate about Traore and where he goes if he's comes in later, comes in if he starts. I don't feel like we've had that connection, and I think they need to keep pushing that connection between him and Raul, because I feel like it got really good at the end of last year. And I think those pushing with Podence on the other side is really kind of the way to go. And kind of bring it up from there and maybe do a little more attacking against Fulham. I don't know what you guys think there.
I think you bring up a great point that Traore might being looked at in a little bit of a different role, especially now that we've got Semedo, that he's one of a wide, he's still the wide attacker of the 3 on the right, but he's a little bit more tucked in. And what I really want to see Traore do a little bit more of is pick the ball up more centrally and run at him. So like the penalty that he won in the Europa at Sevilla, kind of getting the ball in that position, midfield, a little bit tucked in, a little bit like the goals against Man City away, that if he's, I don't think he's a central striker, and to play as a 2 won't work. But if he's got more license from the right to come in a little bit more centrally, knowing that Semedo's on the outside, that he can overlap, he can hit the byline, I'd like to get some creativity down that right, and I think Traore could offer it.
He's kind of a bulldozer once he gets going, right? I mean, there's a lot of those good clips last year. I think it was from the Europa where he just went and nobody could stop him, and he earned the penalty on it. It was really great.
Yeah, especially now that he's all greased up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to see him and Smedo really start to work out a connection. I think that's going to be important for the rest of the season. So I do think you'll see Adama starting again. You just got to give those guys some reps and get to feel each other. And Doc had his faults, but him and Adama knew how to play off of each other about midway through the season.
And I think that's, again, it's a reflection more of a crazy situation that we've not had a proper preseason. We've not had any preseason games to get these understandings. You mentioned earlier, Semedo just came in and had 3 or 4 practices and was starting. So that connection's going to take time. It really is. And we may not see this team really get going for 6 weeks, 2 months.
That's what I kind of feel like as well.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
But down the left-hand side's a huge deal for me, and I'm hoping they're doing something with Martial to get him back fit, either coming in as the left wing back again and adding a little bit of solidity down that side for sure, that if you've got that attacking thrust down the right, that he's a little bit more reserved and he's coming in and tucking in and protecting Saiss a little bit more. I think that's a big miss at the moment, that we haven't got that presence defensively down the left-hand side that we so desperately need.
I mean, you know how the Postal Service works going overseas. If I donate my calf today, will Martial get it in time for the game?
We could try.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I'm not the
Express.
most fit guy by any means, but that's that. Hey, I'll take one for the team.
I think we'd all appreciate that.
Yeah. And no changes in the back three, despite that performance on Sunday. You think it's still going to be Saiss, Cody, and Bali?
I do. Yeah, I think they're going to roll with the same. And again, exactly back to our other point, we'll see if fluke game or if there really is something that needs to be addressed there. I feel like with Nuno, he would be more if they're halfway through and they're struggling anything like that again, I feel like he jumps into it at that point. But I feel like he's got to show trust in the team and hope it was, just a bad day at the office, and they can hold it back there. Again, as maybe we're pressing more up front, maybe it does offset that pressure a little bit too.
We're going to have a little bit of better understanding as we get closer to the game, and if these Dendoncker rumours turn into anything of more substance, it would be a case for me that he'd certainly start if everything's equal on Sunday. I think between Neves and Moutinho, one of them will be dropped and have a rest, especially if we can get Podence back and Traoré to go left and right, and have either Moutinho or Neves sitting in a little bit and having Dendoncker put the legwork in and get box to box in the midfield. I think that'll be important, but I think it's, again, we'll have to wait and see as far as that goes.
Yeah, I agree with you. Dendoncker has to start unless he's on his way out. I don't see any other option. And how about predictions for the game? Or are we going to be brave this week, Paul? Because I know last week we had some big predictions which did not happen.
That's right. I love to be glass half full type Wolves fan, but I've had too much heartbreak in my 30 plus years, and it takes a lot of getting over some of the dark places they've taken me. So at the moment, I think it's going to be okay. I think Nuno's he's got my full trust and my full backing. But as far as Sunday goes, I'm going to say it's going to have to get a little bit rougher before it gets better. We don't lose, but it's a 2-2 draw.
I'll say we get 3 points. I'll give us. I think it'll be tight, and I think it may be something late, but I think we edge out 2-1 is where I'm leaning.
Yeah, I'm with Justin here, and we're kind of newer Wolves fans, so
we don't have that as much.
We haven't experienced as much of the gloom as you have, Paul. So maybe we're the light to bring you back.
I think they've got almost a 2-week break. I think we've got a break after this match till we play Leeds. I think so. It'd be nice to get that win and just have a couple weeks to maybe heal up and set some things. So maybe a little more optimistic there.
Yeah, that would be nice.
If you're at school or building your experience in digital communications and would like to help with everything that goes into Whole Lotta Wolves, then get in touch. We're always on the lookout for willing hands when it comes to graphic design, social media management and podcast production. Send us an email, hello@wholelotofwolves.com, and we hope to welcome you onto the team.
How are we going to watch the game on Sunday? It's a little earlier start than usual, Josh.
Yeah, they keep bumping our Saturday games to Sunday for TV, but that's okay. It's going to be kickoff on NBCSN. It's 8 o'clock for me and you over here in the Central Time Zone. Justin, are you in Central or
We
Eastern
are, yeah.
Time Zone? Yeah,
Yep,
so 8
Nashville
o'clock
Central.
for you too. Now,
Yep.
if you went over a couple hours east to Knoxville, you'd be in Eastern Time Zone and a 9 o'clock start. Yeah, no, we can handle that. Our
Yeah.
pub isn't open then, but that's okay.
Yeah, same problems we have here.
It's onto our No Stupid Questions segment, and what this is designed for is a question that you've got, especially maybe you like Justin and Josh, you may be newer fans to the club that you want to ask, but you may think it's a little bit too simplistic. Don't worry, get in touch. We'll answer anything that you throw our way. You can ask it on our Twitter profile, which is at WLWpod. You can ask us as a message on our Facebook page, which is facebook.com/Whole Lotta Wolves. And even on our website, if you think that your question really is stupid and you might get laughed at, you can go on there and ask anonymously. So our website is www.wholelotofwolves.com. And we got 2 questions in this week that I'm going to ask you guys. The first is from Wes Doob. Apologies if I've totally battered your last name, Wes. Please correct me. But he asks, Wes says, other than personnel changes, are there any tactical changes you'd like to see going forward with this team?
No, I don't think so. I think we talked about some of it a little bit, just the approach. And again, I think obviously health of some of the players is a big deal. So if we have some of those guys back, I'd like to see that at a full steam again with the way Podence was against Sheffield to kind of kick off the season. It was nice there, and if we have that, I think we try that again. So I would say no right now. Maybe it's a terrible idea after last week, but that's where I am on it.
I'm inclined to agree, as long as we get that creativity back, and if that comes from Podence or an informed Traore or what Semedo can deliver from the right hand side. I'm kind of bet the devil that you know at the moment, as long as that creativity comes and we start to threaten again like we know that we can.
Yeah, I agree. I'd still like to see the 3-4-3 again this week. I know Captain Stepover will probably be starting, which I'm not thrilled about, but there's not much they can really do. I mean, there's nobody else unless Martial is somehow healthy. So 3-4-3 and just hope the team starts gelling here.
And on to our second No Stupid Question of the episode, and Chris Wood has been in touch, and no, it's not the Burnley striker, it's the Ohio Wolves Chris Wood, who joined us on Whole Lotta Wolves episode 1. Chris asks, when do we think we'll get the first outing of the new away jersey?
The abomination. That is a good question. I would say Crystal Palace, maybe. I don't know. I think I would see the third kit, the Portugal one, a lot sooner than the away kit. When you look at the fixtures, I could see them wearing that one against Leeds on the road. Maybe the away one this week, but I don't know.
I think we had a benefit last year that we had so many games that it was easier to have kits that were dedicated toward the Europa a little bit more. We're never that side really that gets a kit clash in the EPL anyway. So I think with fewer games, there'll have to be really strategic decisions of when we're going to wear it. I think the next one that probably stands at Leeds playing white, I think that's our next game. So that's kind of out the question with our our white shorts and white socks on that kit. So maybe the Leicester game that follows it, or Arsenal, I think they'll want it shown maybe a couple of 3 times this side of the season, and then you kind of got to factor in the third kit as well. And I think that needs seeing as well. That's kind of selling itself, but you'd like them both to get a run out before Christmas, so some purchases happen and the tills start ringing.
I think, Josh, you may. I mean, that Crystal Palace match is on Halloween, so that may make sense. But yeah, I was. I don't know. Arsenal was kind of the first time I saw that too. I doubt we'd wear that against Liverpool, so Arsenal. But I was really hoping we'd pull out the third against City when they took out their Paisley thirds. I thought that'd be a lot of fun, but I guess not. But to your point, it's selling real well anyway, so they don't need to push that much more. I'll go with Arsenal too, is my guess.
Yeah, no Watford, so it really you're right about the kit clashes. You don't really have to worry about it that much. So it's going to be a marketing decision more than anything. Finally, in this week's supporters group focus, it's over to you, Justin. Tell the listeners about Tennessee Wolves, where you guys are hoping to meet up, and how they can get in touch with you.
Yeah, again, and I wanted to thank you guys for having me on and letting us talk. So thank you so much. It's been really great. Again, best way to reach us right now is just via email. So 10wolves, TENN, like Tennessee, wolves @gmail.com. That'll find us and get you in contact and get a quick response to get some information. One of the things we always do is similar how you guys did here, is how did you become a fan of the Wolves? I always like to know that. And we've had some great stories from our supporters and a lot of ties back to Wolverhampton itself, which has been really cool to hear those stories. So reach out to me there. Hopefully we'll have news on the location that we're going to be able to meet soon, and hopefully we will be able to meet soon if the world's in a better place. So I've got a spot we've been working on, and we're kind of trying to get through the COVID thing. So hopefully they'll be opened back up and we can start meeting there. It'll be kind of a fun new sports area and kind of downtown Nashville. So we're looking to do that. But again, anybody feel free to reach out and happy to have more supporters and support the Wolves here in Tennessee.
Awesome. That sounds great. Thanks for coming on, Justin. We really appreciate it.
No, thank you guys. It's been great. I appreciate it.
Thank you everyone for tuning in and listening, and please keep everything coming through the social media channels. Engagement's been great. We really appreciate it. On the podcast platform that you listen on, please subscribe and like and give us 5 stars and good reviews and everything that you can do to help support Whole Lotta Wolves. It does go a great deal to help us grow. Once again, thanks for tuning in, and we look forward to chatting with you next week.